Welcome to Typecasting, where we're typing our favorite fictional characters on the Enneagram and taking on pop culture by the numbers.
I don't have a great segue into this, but someone once said being part of something special makes you special. And I don't know if that's actually true, but it kind of sounds sweet if you look at it at face value.
Well, that's your host, Lucas Graydon, who, I don't know if this is offensive or not, is the Kurt to my Mercedes.
Stop! Oh my god! Well, I had written down, and that's your co-host, Marjana Tumatua, who I would say is the Rachel to my Kurt, but I feel like our friendship is much less toxic.
Much less toxic.
That's so sweet.
I mean, like, I'm on season 2 right now. Kurt and Mercedes are kind of cute, so I thought that was better. Mm-hmm. So it's just less toxic. We're on the same page. I love it. I love it. Well, guys, we have really great new friends, and I am so excited, right? Okay, so this is our special guest star host, Ian Allred, who would totally be the warbler that I'd have a crush on.
Aww. Is it hot in here or is it just me? Wow.
And I'm so excited to introduce our second special guest host this week, Lena Knatzer, who Mr. Shu would definitely give every single solo to.
Oh, that's a good one. That's so much better than mine.
Lucas, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow, what an honor.
Truly the Rachel Berry of this podcast.
Here. Are you kidding? This is so awesome. We have been obsessed with your podcast, Recovering Gleek. I have been obsessed for months, and I was like, Marjana, too, you have to listen. When I DM'd you guys to come on to the podcast, I had to keep, like, Marjana, too, and I were on the phone. I was like, oh my gosh, they read it. They read it.
It was quick. Oh. You guys are active.
Yes, I was like, they replied.
Well, we're so excited to be here. We were honored that you asked us.
Well, thank you so much for joining. You are definitely the character experts. We'll definitely defer to you when it comes to the Glee characters. I think you are just our de facto experts this week, and we're so excited to have you on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you guys haven't at home guessed what we're doing already, we're doing Glee. I'm so excited.
Can you imagine if you were like, we're doing crime and punishment. Here we go. Getting way into it.
Bringing in the experts.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, who is our first character, Lucas? Let's jump right in.
So just like Mr. Shu, there's only one person we can pick first. We are going to start with Rachel Berry, and I hate myself for comparing myself to Mr. Shu, but we are going to start with Rachel Berry. She is definitely, I don't know if she was intended to be the main character of the show at the beginning, but by season 4, she is the main character, and everyone else is just kind of wallpaper. But Rachel Berry is the star of the show. She has to be front and center stage the whole time. And as I mentioned at the beginning, she believes that being part of something special makes you special, especially if she's the one singing every song every single week. So
absolutely. I feel like I had a Rachel Berry at my high school. Did you guys have a Rachel Berry?
I was the Rachel Berry.
If you don't know who the Rachel Berry is, you probably were.
You're her.
I love it.
I had a Rachel Berry at my high school for sure, but I also was a Rachel Berry internally, but I just knew to bite my tongue. So I don't think other people knew, but I was.
But you knew.
Yes.
My high school had like 3 Rachel Berries. And so it got interesting at times.
I didn't even go to your high school, and I like know who the Rachel Berries were. Like we did.
I love that.
And I feel like that's such a Rachel Berry thing. Like she sticks with you a little bit.
She does.
Truly, I think you cannot be involved in the performing arts as a high schooler without having a touch of Rachel Berry in you. I don't think it's possible. She is like the patron saint of theater teens.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is very true. And it's so funny to me because now watching it again, and you guys touch on this in your podcast, when I was a kid and watching the show, I thought she was just an icon, like, and great and perfect. And now rewatching it, I'm like, I aspire to be her. That is so embarrassing. Like, I hope I was okay.
She's a monster.
That's something that's really hard for me about Glee is I feel like when the show starts, the writers are very self-aware of the fact that Rachel isn't someone you aspire to be. Like, they are very self-aware of the fact that she's like overbearing and has all these qualities that aren't great. But then I feel like as the show goes on, the writers themselves really buy into her. And by the end of the show, it's just like the Rachel Berry wish fulfillment show. It's like everything goes her way. She faces no consequences for anything. It's so aggravating.
Yes. Yeah. Don't rain on her parade because the writers of Glee won't let you.
That's accurate.
And I think half the reason that we all grew up thinking that she was like so awesome is like the writers truly framed her to be like the protagonist and like she does no wrong and she gets everything she wants.
But
and
then they also,
like, no wonder we all grew up feeling that way.
They take her to such like despicable lengths sometimes. Like,
I know.
Like her and Sunshine Corazon in the season 2 premiere. It's just like, you can't, and I know it's funny and it's satirical, but she sends her to a crack house. Like,
no, I know.
And sometimes she does things that are so hard to walk back from. I do think that as frustrating as it is, Glee as a show forgets what's going on like week to week. Like it just forgets whatever happened in last week's episode. But I also think,
absolutely.
As I've been rewatching it, you kind of have to. Like I have to just like be in the moment, in the present. Like this is what's happening right now. And I can't think too hard about like what this character did last week. Yeah. Because otherwise I will just never be able to forgive them. And I think Rachel's an example of that.
In not even week to week, in the episode where she sends Sunshine to a crack house, that episode then ends with her singing this whole ballad about how like she's the victim in the situation.
Yes.
And it's framed as if we're like maybe supposed to side with her on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. We refuse.
No.
There are good things about her, I'm sure, because we're about to type her Enneagram.
Yes.
And as we always say when villains, like if you are this type, you are not all the negative things, you know, you're a great full rounded person. That's the thing about the Enneagram. It's a tool, not a box. We say that every episode. So here we go. I'm so nervous to give her Enneagram type, but I think we're all going to be on the same page. I think there's only one way to read her, but maybe I'm crazy.
Dun, dun, dun.
I sat down and I wrote all my things down and I was like, wow, we might disagree on one or two of these. There's no way we're disagreeing on Rachel. So that is surprising.
Rachel was the easiest one for me too.
Yeah. That was my thought at the top. And then I shouldn't have done it, but I went to the Enneagram Institute and I started like actually reading more. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I having like a midlife crisis, a Rachel Berry crisis? So we'll see. You all go first. I think Marjana, you should kick us off.
Okay, I'll kick us off. I believe that Rachel Berry is a 3. Oh, everyone's face did not look like I thought it would.
Oh, no. Marjana 2. I agree. I believe that Rachel Berry is a 3.
I'm taking the fall for this one because this is my own type and I'm not offended. I am convinced she's a 1.
Oh my gosh, I agree. Oh,
thank you,
you guys
Lucas.
are such the same person.
No.
I think
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, okay.
I have, as a 1 myself, I have extensive notes as to why she is a 1.
As a 3 myself, I have extensive notes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Let's go.
All right.
I want to hear these arguments.
Okay. The quote that made me say Rachel Berry is a 1 is in Bad Reputation. She is talking to someone about how she's talking to Puck about how people just don't really like her that much. And she says,
I understand. Yeah. I sit in Glee Club and I watch a couple of imperfect performances and a litany of criticisms just start building up inside of me like a volcano, and I keep telling myself to hold it in and then it just comes bursting out. Granted, generally I'm right, but doesn't do much for my reputation.
And like ones are such huge critics of both themselves and other people, and ones are such perfectionists. And Rachel, like the big difference between a 1 and a 3 is like if you're a 3, you would rather finish the whole project, whereas if you were a 1, you'd rather do part of it perfectly. And like Rachel Berry does not mess up. That girl wakes up every morning. She gets on her elliptical. She like has her goals in front of her. She has been taking dance classes since she was a little girl. She is such a workaholic. She is so about like, I am owed success because I work harder than anyone else in this club. She is such a 1 to me.
That was a pretty good argument.
Thank you.
Okay, I have thoughts, but I want to hear Lena. You and Rajana too think she's a 3. Give us the tea. Tell us why.
All right. For the exact same reason that Ian said, Rachel Berry wakes up every morning to manifest. That, to me, is a 3 in a nutshell. Like, she wakes up every day, skin of her teeth, works hard because her end goal, like Rachel Berry's core want, is to be successful and to be on Broadway. Like, that's her core. Like, nothing gets in the way of that. And I feel like a 1 totally could have goals like that, but like at her core is like yearning to be successful. And she's like, afraid of like being unimportant and like all of that kind of stuff. So that feels very 3 to me. I don't see 1 at all.
I mean,
this is very interesting. All right. Because I think she's a 3. The 3 is quite literally called the performer and the achiever, right? But Ian makes a great point because that's my thing. I'm like, a 1 would rather do a little bit perfectly than it all poorly. But this is the thing that I will say is I think there is a separate motivation between the 1 and the 3, like literally. And I know Lucas is about to talk about this, but I think we're coming to different conclusions. So I'm interested to hear about this.
Okay. I mentioned earlier, I came into this when we were talking about doing Glee and doing Rachel. I was like, she's going to be such a 3. And it's funny because last week, Marjana, too, you were like, Lucas, I think you're taking the performer name a little too literally. And so the thing that I took a lot of notes because I ended up in the weeds of the Enneagram Institute website. I pulled up the article that they have about mistyping between a type 1 and a type 3 and what are those key differences. So 3s are externally motivated. They are completely kind of dependent upon, or they're motivated by how other people see them, and they're goals driven and they're pragmatic. Whereas 1s, as reformers, they're inner motivated. They are idealists who are driven by their own standards for success. And I think that we see Rachel she is sad, as a lot of high schoolers are, that she doesn't have a lot of friends, but it's not her goal to make friends. And like, it never has been. She's not externally motivated when it comes to actually like playing nice. She only cares about her goals and her success. And I think that she just throws all of that energy of the type 1 into performance. And I think she has a really interesting foil about that 1 versus 3 debate that we're going to get into a little bit later. But I don't want to spoil it.
See, okay, well, so I was going to say the same thing. Like, I was like, I think we have the motivations to us, but I think we're going to land on different sides. So I'm interested to hear what your theory or your example for your theory is, because I was thinking she's so externally motivated to the point, and she's just bad at it. She's not a good manipulator. I think every time she's like trying to explain away the issues, I think of Sunshine is a great example, and how she's like, guys, I love you so much that's why I'm doing this. Like, I did this for you. And everyone's like, no, it's not. You did it for you. You want to be the center of attention. She's bad at manipulating the people around her. And that's why she doesn't have friends. But I don't think she realizes why. I think it's all external. It's like, it's making people appreciate her, love her. She wants all of the glory. And I don't think all of that inner criticism that she alludes to I think she's just kind of being manipulative, but I don't know. And so I think like she might just be speaking to these things, but she's like all along she knows she needs to get other people to approve of her. So she's a 3, not a 1. I don't think she's really a perfectionist. And I also think she breaks moral codes way too often to be a 1.
Absolutely.
Here's the deal, though. A 1's big thing is I have to be a good person. I have to be what I perceive is a good person. And they set down their own rules, and their rules are good. Right. And Rachel, when she sends Sunshine to a crack house, genuinely believes this was the right thing to do because she was bad for the club. And as referenced before, we can tell that because when she sings What I Did for Love, she is not singing that to her classmates. She is alone in the auditorium saying genuinely, I did this because I love art, I love performing, and this was a necessary thing to do, and no one understands that. Like, Rachel never once in this series will accept that she's a villain. She always frames everything as I am self-sacrificing. I did this because I am I'm doing what's right for the club, and she genuinely believes that she is what's right for the club. I think it is a total internal motivation, and it's her own internal ethics that are very askew, but like she genuinely thinks that she is doing the right thing.
I agree.
I don't know.
I think
I will give it to you. Give me the wing.
Okay. I think she's a wing 2. I think that she does get a little bit of the manipulative tendencies of the type 2 sometimes, and she does try to leverage her relationships to serve her own ends. But I think it's key to what Ian said about how she thinks she's doing the right thing because she writes her own moral code. Threes are very pragmatic. They are willing to do what they need to do to get things done. But they know when they're breaking or bending the rules or taking advantage of other people. Whereas 1s, they are idealists. And I think Rachel is an idealist where she does believe that she is doing what's best for everyone around her. And she knows what's best for everyone around her. I think she's just so painfully wrong a lot of the time.
I think I'm convinced. Sorry. I'm pretty easily convinced. I feel bad because now it's not just me that it affects. But yeah, I think you're right. But like I said, I would love to hear more about the wing. I think that's because I think a wing 4 is pretty easy to see. And like how she gets in those like melodramatic spells. Yeah. You know, envy is the sin of the 4. And that is so rampant in who she is. And how all of her issues play out most of the time. I mean, like her and Finn's if she was just more chill, like, you know, about Finn being with other people, I feel like there wouldn't be nearly as many ups and downs. So I think the 3 wing 4s what made, you know, obvious sense to me. So I'm really curious to see, like, I don't really see the 2.
I'm thinking, I'm going to lose it now. What was I going to say? I'm thinking about how she is so authentic. She does not know how to turn off, like, what she's feeling, what she wants, whereas 3s are all about putting on a face that other people want to see. Like 3s are all about winning other people over, and they're masking their own emotions, and I can play along and I can be sad if you want me to be sad right now, or I can be happy. Or whereas Rachel, the world revolves around her. She is such a genuine person. And I think we see 3s really struggle with being genuine.
But I think that's the problem with being a 3 wing 4. Like as a 4 wing 3, I see that and I fight that battle every day.
Whereas like that's the core motivation of the 4. More so than the 3 with the wing 4.
Well, Lena, because you're a 3 wing 4, right?
Yes, that's true.
I am, yeah.
Lena, what do you think?
I don't know. What you just said, Lucas, it kind of makes me think so. But like, kind of back on what Ian was saying, I don't know that she was sending Sunshine to a crack house for the good of the club as much as she was doing it for the good of her spotlight, you know, because she felt threatened. And like, I just feel like a 1 might do that for, you know, because she wants to win nationals because she thinks that, you know, she's the only way they can win nationals. And I think that very well could be why she did it. But I don't know that that's why she did it. I think she did it because if Sunshine took them to nationals, they could win without her, you know, and that makes me feel pretty 3. I don't know, but I do like what you said. Be nice to me, Ian.
I love you, Lena. To counter that, ones are also all about like, you have to give something to get something back. Like they are very big and like there's no such thing as a free lunch. Like you have to work for everything, which, you know, is a whole thing to unpack that we're not going to get into. But Rachel, I think genuinely is like, because we see this all the time where she talks about how she is owed these solos because she works harder than anyone in that club. And it is true if you watch the show, she is the hardest worker in that club. That doesn't mean she's actually owed all those solos, but like she really works. And I can see that she, in her mind, is like, this girl has not put any of the effort in. She has not been through this last year with us. She doesn't deserve to come into this club and get the spotlight. And so, like, in her mind, she is undoing the injustice that is someone getting this spotlight when they didn't work for it.
I don't know.
I actually think...
I know. I thought that was a stretch as well.
That's a reach, buddy. Love you.
I do think with some of that reciprocity and some of that, like, I did a nice thing for you, now you owe me. I do see the type 2 in that, like the wing 2, where 2s very much are like, I give to you and help you so that you will be there for me and help me. And I think that with her relationship with Finn is probably a good example of some of that wing 2 coming out, and the way that she is so like possessive and protective over him. And also I think she's very much like operating on her own ethics and wanting Finn to operate inside of her code of ethics when she cheats on him with Puck. And then she's like, well, I apologized. Now you have to forgive me. Like I did the right thing. And now you're supposed to repay me with forgiveness. Like, I went through the motions. I checked all the boxes. This is the right thing to do. Now forgive me. In a way that, like, that transactional nature of relationships, I think we see in type 2 and that wing 2 maybe. But also in that, like, I did the right thing. Now everything is forgiven of the type 1 maybe.
I don't know. This is one of those things when I'm willing to surrender, but I think I'm right still.
Yeah, I think so. Like,
you didn't convince me.
I don't feel super convinced, but I will bow out.
I mean, as a type 1, I'm never willing to surrender, so I will fight this fight till I die.
Okay, whatever. Let's move on. So we're going with a 1 wing 2.
Yes.
We're all shaking our heads.
I agree with Lucas. I agree with Lucas on the wing 2.
Well, me and Rajana too can join a club without you two. I think 3 wing 4 makes so much more sense, and you guys are just like, a 9 doesn't make sense, so we're gonna try to make a weird argument for a 2. That's how I feel about it, but I'm just gonna move on and hope the rest are easier. Let's talk about Finn now. I don't want to talk about Rachel anymore.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about him for real. Let's talk about Finn Hudson. Finn, I love him very, very much. Me and Corey Monteith have the same birthday, so I feel extra connected to him. Yes, exactly. He is the football quarterback, as well as he's kind of like the Troy Bolton of the series. I personally think he's very lovable, very gullible, a total himbo, great guy. He's also Kurt, who we'll be talking about soon's stepbrother.
In Glee Club, whenever 2 of us got together, we got a nickname. Rachel and I are Finnchel. Rachel and Puck were Puckleberry. And today, a new union was formed. Furt. You and me, man, we're brothers from another mother. And quite frankly, no one else has shown me as much as you about what it means to be a man. And over the past few weeks, some stuff's gone down, and I haven't manned up like I should have. From now on, no matter what it costs me, I got your back. Okay? Even if it means getting a slushie in the face every now and then.
And he's Rachel's love interest for most of the series. And they're really great. And I love Finn. He plays the drums. He also plays the football, and it's a great time. Lucas, what do you think? What are your initial thoughts? What's your gut reaction on his number?
Okay. Finn is a character that I'm a little bit all over the place with. I'm between two numbers mostly. I think I'm going to just start with the 9, but I want to see where everyone else is. I think maybe type 9.
Okay. I was the same. I'm not willing to die on the Finn Hill like I was with Rachel.
Right?
But I did also, he was the hardest one for me, and I did also settle on 9.
I went between 6 and 9, and I settled on 6.
Okay. 6 was in my list of numbers too.
I think Finn, I was also really distraught between 9 and 6. So I think depending on, and this is what we say this sometimes, like sometimes when there's so much content, the writers aren't like super dedicated to them, and so they switch.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go with 9. I think for the majority of the time, he is a 9, but they connect, 9s connect to the 6. So it's very possible he's sitting in that wing 6 a lot.
I want to say 2.
I wrote in my notes that I could be convinced he's a 9, so I'd like to see you try.
Okay. I also want to say the other number that I on my list was the 3, which I think is a little out there.
Oh, yeah.
But,
okay, so he's in this triad for sure. I mean,
but I think he's one of the 3 anchor points, which is like, I think they're usually kind of different, but for him, I just put all 3. So I'll talk about the type 3 since we have some people on the 9, some people on the 6. But with that type 3, I'm in the period of time, and I think we see throughout the show, he is very concerned about how the rest of the school views him. He is very concerned with his reputation. And when Sam moves in and becomes the quarterback, he needs to be quarterback. He is personally offended by Sam's position in his old role. And he is always concerned about, how can I be on top of the school? Like, how can I regain my reputation, stay cool. I want Quinn because Quinn's the hottest girl in school, and if we were dating, everyone would think we were cool again. And I think that we see throughout the show that he really struggles when something is threatening his reputation. Like when Kurt is being bullied, he doesn't know how to go about it and how to stick up for him a lot of the times because he doesn't want to come into conflict with the football players, which I think could be a 9 thing, and we'll get into that. But I also think because he doesn't want to mess with his precarious place on the social ladder. So and he's such a good leader, and he is such a natural leader of the Glee Club and of the football team that I think 3s really fill that role. So that's where I kind of got the 3.
Okay, Lucas, I kind of agree-ish. I hear you. I just don't think that's his core motivation. I think those are qualities in him. And one of the things I want to give him is just, I think sometimes we think of both 6s and 9s as sometimes their worst qualities outshine their best. Sometimes I think when we think of the 6, we think of the fact that they are anxious. And I don't know if that's a worst quality, but there's so much more and so much more complex than that. And I think a 6 can be an incredible leader because they are thinking ahead constantly. They're thinking about others constantly. They are loyal, they're ambitious, and they know people very well because of who they are and their makeup. And so I think in the same way, I think he might just be a 6, and he might just be anxious about what's going to happen next and, where his social standing would be. Every argument you made for that 3, I heard more of a 6 in. And because I don't think he's as rigorous as a 3 is about any of those things, because, when Sam is quarterback, he's sad about it, but he doesn't really do a ton. He gets already on the team. He's just doing a lot at the same time. And I do think he wants to be popular, but who doesn't, right? And I think he's just I think these are all side characters to who he is because he's doing a lot of things. But also, me saying that's also such a characteristic of a 9 who's right at the top of the Enneagram and takes on a lot of personality. So a lot of times when we're ooh, when we're having discussions and everything's valid, I'm oh wait, they're a 9. So I can totally which is where I started. So I think I'm more leaning towards 9 and 6 than I am towards a 3.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, here's the deal. I know a lot about ones because I'm a one. The rest of these numbers, I just know some stuff.
Right.
But for nine, like Finn is an optimist. Like he consistently is trying to look on the bright side, but also Finn freaking hates conflict. True. And that's like, Finn does some stuff in the show that is not great. And I think a lot of it has to do with how he does not like conflict. Like he, you know, doesn't really stand up for Kurt when Kurt's being bullied because he's afraid of conflict. And then like when he outs Santana, which is an objectively terrible thing to do, he kind of tries to beat around the bush. And then his apology sucks. His apology is just like, hey, Santana, all of us in Glee Club like you, because he like so badly wants to just like get it over with and be done. Like, I think, like you said, in 6s and 9s, a lot of their worst traits are what you notice. And I think that Finn, a lot of the stuff that he does that fans do not like can be traced back to the fact that Finn has a huge fear of conflict and always tries to avoid it to his own detriment.
I just watched the episodes where he lies to Rachel about having sex with Santana and saying that he's a virgin because he was like, I knew you were going to get mad at me if I told you, so I just lied. Like,
yeah, that's
so I do kind of see that too. Lena, what do you think?
I feel pretty certain he's a 6. Can definitely be convinced he's a 9. Here's why I think he's a 6.
Okay.
So when I think about like Finn, and especially when he finds out that Quinn is pregnant, they decide that they're going to raise the baby together. And he's very concerned that he's going to be a Lima loser. He's like very concerned that he's not going to get into a good college and he's not going to like be able to provide for his family. I feel like Finn is a person, especially in these early seasons. And I think Marjana 2 is definitely right. Like, I think he switches for sure later. But he, you know, he's like very attached to his home and like being secure, and like especially when he like moves into the Hummel house, he feels like he's like losing his security and he's anxious and he like lashes out, and you know, he is really concerned about getting into college, not because like he like wants a good job, but because he wants to like provide for his family, especially in those early seasons, or like be there for Rachel, you know, like be able to keep up with Rachel. So that feels very 6 to me.
But Lena, one thing we could say is like those are all very stressful situations, and 9s do go to 6 in stress.
And I totally see that. I see that.
I was on the same wavelength because he also like has those natural leadership qualities, and then 9 goes to the 3 in strength and in like growth. Something about the 6s that I was reading about as I was doing some research is that 6s tend to be uncomfortable with the spotlight and tend to feel like they are at greater risk if they are the one out in front, because they're the one getting the attention and they're not always super comfortable being the center of attention. And even though we don't always see it highlighted, especially like in the Glee Club side of things, he's not like fighting for solos like Rachel is, but he's always getting the solos and he's okay with it. He's just like, he's very comfortable like in the front of the crowd kind of setting. So that was what, because I was thinking about the 6, and that was actually why I took the 6 off my list, because I was reading a little bit about 6s aren't always super comfortable in the spotlight, and I think we do see Finn kind of in his element when he's performing. And as the quarterback, he's not always content to just be on the football team. He wants to be the quarterback, and he's somebody who like is so chill a lot of the time. I think he's just like always so and I think he has those beautiful relationships that even though a lot of times they're shallow, like they are him, like he's friends with everybody in the Glee Club, and he is very much the glue. He's the guy who goes around the school and gets people to join, and he connects with like Artie and Brittany and like Puck in a way that I think is really beautiful in the way that Type 9s do relationships.
I agree. I think he's
I like that.
Yay. I love when it's easy. What do we think about his wing?
I said wing 8 simply because I was like, no way is Finn Hudson a perfectionist. I was like, I can't see him as a 1, so I just said wing 8.
I think that's fair.
I think it's fair too.
I'm like trying to think of examples of the 8, and I'm like, well, he gets angry sometimes, like, which is a terrible metric.
He kicks over those chairs all the time.
He kicks chairs all the
He
time.
does like to kick his chairs.
You know what? Maybe too. I said that about the 6 and the 9. I was like, sometimes we just pick out the worst, but I think that's like the whole Enneagram now that I say it out loud. Because you're like, 8, he's angry.
No, so the Enneagram, when I first discovered it, I tried to explain it to people. I was like, it's your Myers-Briggs, but about your worst qualities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, which as a 4, I was like, something's wrong with me all the time. I'm like, yes, tell me more.
I go the same way. Oh my goodness. Lucas, then who is next?
Okay, so I know we've talked a lot about Finnchel. They are kind of the star couple of the show, but they do have their ups and downs. And we put these 3 characters together because of the love triangle, especially in season 1, but also in season 2. Things are getting a little rocky. Queen Fabray, love of my life.
I love you, Quinn.
I think I love Diana Agron, and I give a lot of that to Quinn, but I also do love Quinn.
Me too.
Love Quinn. Head Cheerio, top of the social pyramid, top of the ladder, until she gets pregnant after cheating on Finn with Puck, giving birth to Beth in arguably the best scene in the entire first season during Bohemian Rhapsody.
The whole canon, I would say.
I think you make a fair argument. Yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head of there are some scenes that stand out to me personally, but I don't think anything can compete with Jonathan Groff singing Bohemian Rhapsody while Quinn gives birth. She gives birth to Beth, gives up her baby. Then she kind of goes on a roller coaster for the rest of the series. And I think we see her kind of lose herself, question herself a couple times, and what her place is, especially after, especially in the times where she steps away from the Cheerios. So I do think we've talked about it before with TV shows. We see characters go on really long journeys and over that time inhabit a lot of different roles. I think she may suffer from a little bit of that as we go through. But what do you all think? What do we think of Quinn?
Can I just put it on the record that I really don't like the name Beth, and I just like really don't love how they did that for because it's the song. It drove me crazy.
But Puck named the baby after a song about a dude who really doesn't want to go home to his wife. That's so romantic. How do you not love that?
Why did he get to name the baby anyway?
I don't get it. I will never forgive Ryan Murphy for having Quinn and Puck end up together. I will go to my grave being furious that happened.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I specifically forget about that.
I was going to say, I grunted in agreement, but I was pretending like I remembered because I did not remember that.
No,
good. You trauma blocked it out.
The 2 characters that were most wronged by that man are Tina Cohen-Chang and Quinn Fabray. That man, he just tried to kill Quinn's character in any way possible.
100%. I feel so bad for her. As the show goes on, the first half of season 2, I'm just I feel so bad for Diana Agron. She just had to stand there, and we have
she's so talented.
Those
what a waste.
Background characters who most characters on Glee start as a background character and get more and more content and get more and more plot and become main characters. I feel like Quinn is maybe the one character who goes from being a main character to just getting less and less until she leaves for Yale and comes back twice, because she just gets relegated to becoming a side character, which I think is the opposite trajectory of almost every other character on the show.
She goes from having 3 solo songs in the first half of season 1 to having 1 solo song in season 2 and season 3 combined.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a travesty.
He did his math. He came in here with the numbers.
So, Marjana too.
I'm so interested.
What do you think?
I want to go last because I want to rock the boat.
Okay.
Should I go first then?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, go first.
Okay. I've had a really tough time thinking about Quinn all day. I think like you said, Quinn goes on a journey that takes her to a lot of different places. And I think we don't know as much about Quinn as we should. That being said, I typed her as a 1.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I literally have written in caps next to this. This is a hot take. So Marjana too, I'm psyched to see what your hot take is.
Hot take.
I typed Quinn as a 6.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I'm not willing to die on this hill by any means at all. I am fully ready to be proven wrong, but I do have many notes. I have a case I can present and then to be proven wrong.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I thought this was going to be the like main consensus. I thought she was a 3. And I mentioned earlier, like, I think there's some really interesting differences between Quinn and Rachel that make Rachel the 1 and Quinn the 3. But now I need to know what Marjana's number is.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so scared.
This has never happened. I think she's an 8.
Oh, no one said the same number, Queen Bee. Quinn.
I was so excited for all of us to like agree,
Oh my gosh.
and we would have fun. And I'm so
You guys,
stressed.
this is going to be a bloodbath.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's not. I'm very sensitive.
Okay, who wants to go first?
I
think the 1-3 discussion makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
But I also think the 1-8 is commonly mistyped as well. So
fair
maybe
point.
we start with the 3, go to 1, go to 8.
Okay. I will say, I'll lay out my case. I'll try and be brief because I want to hear all of what you guys have to say. So when I was typing Rachel and Quinn, I thought at the beginning that Rachel was a 3 and Quinn was a 1. Then as I did some research on the differences, and I mentioned earlier, 1s are inner motivated by their own standards and idealism. 3s are externally motivated by the opinions of people around them. And I think that Quinn is so dependent on other people's approval and pressure and opinions in a way that I think is very indicative of the type 3. And when we get into season 3 and she just feels so lost and she doesn't know who she is and where to go because of all these external pressure that she's been trying to live up to, and she feels like it's not doing her any good, I think that that is very indicative, first of all, of the type 3 that just always on and aware of what other people think of them and what people are, how people are perceiving them. But then to crack under that pressure and then be like, I don't know who I am, and to find herself struggling and kind of lost, I think I was really in my wing 3 in high school, and I would spend days thinking, I don't know who I am, depending on which friend group I'm with. I'm a different person. And when I would sit alone in a room, I would think, who am I when I have nobody around me to tell me who I am? And I think that that is a very common struggle of the type 3. And I think that that's where we see Quinn struggling in season 3. That's my case. That's why I think she's a 3. But I can't wait to hear everybody else's thoughts.
Well, I kind of like it. I think it's definitely possible, if not like realistic, that she's a 3. That was my gut reaction. But I also thought she just had so many qualities of the 8, like knowing what's right and wrong and like being able to stand up for it so consistently. I was like, that is an 8 if I've ever seen one. And like, I think she does have that little crisis that is not super like an 8, but I thought it was because she's an 8 wing 9. And 8 wing 9s have that internal struggle constantly because they're like, who am I? What am I doing? Am I being a peacemaker? I can't tell my dad I'm pregnant, but I also believe in women's rights. I'm also going to go to freaking Yale. I'm going to prove you all wrong. I'm going to get a 4.0 because I can, because I'm a challenger, right? Like, I think she has all those really like great qualities of an 8 that like sometimes you're just like, they're angry. And I'm like, yeah, she slapped Santana in the hallway. Actually, Santana slapped her. Does anyone slap anyone?
They slap each other.
Santana slaps her. Yep,
Yeah,
sure
Santana
did.
slaps her because she's like, unless you got knocked up again.
You did this to me. You told Coach Sylvester about my summer surgery.
You have a surgery when you get your appendix out. You got a boob job.
Yep, sure did.
You can't hit me.
Well, sure I can, unless you got yourself knocked up again, slut. Stop the violence.
Hey, what is this? What happened to Mrs. being a family? Hey!
Oh, please. She has a family. She's a mother.
Walk away and tighten up your body before
But then they do slap each other in season 4.
She has a family. She's a mother. Okay, right. She's still got that confrontation. She's not scared of a fight, but like it's not like core to her character. And I think like we think of that as like eights all the time. It's like, okay, they're angry, they're fighting. Like all our superheroes were eights. I think Quinn's like a really great, like realistic 8 who's just like a really incredible woman who's getting the job done and knows what she's doing. And I think she just has a wing 9. And so it gets a little confusing sometimes.
You know what I thought you were going to say? I don't know why. When you were going to give your number, I thought you were going to say 5, and now I can't get it out of my head. But we can't add another log to this fire.
Hey, I put wing 5 on mine, so.
Okay, wait, yeah, talk about the 6. I'm interested in that, especially because like we have that 3 and the 6 connection. Like, I just need to get it all in order.
Okay, so I just would love to preface this by saying, you guys, I fully accept that I'm probably wrong on this one, but I was reading the Enneagram Institute about 6s, and I was like, this feels like Quinn to me. So I think she is a very unhealthy 6, because a 6's whole like desire is for stability in their life, and they look for stability in like external structures. And Quinn, immediately, the first thing that happens to her is she loses her structure of her religious identity because she goes against like the teachings of her church. She loses the stability of the Cheerios, and then she loses the stability of her home life and her boyfriend. And the rest of the show, until she gets to Yale and finds herself again, is a very unhealthy 6, desperately looking for stability. She throws herself into Glee Club. Like, she tells Sue that she's like, I'm glad to be in Glee Club because it's like they actually want me. Like, I have found a structure. This woman cannot be single. She goes from boyfriend to boyfriend constantly. She's with Finn. Finn breaks up with her. She immediately goes to Puck. Puck and her break it off. She immediately goes to Sam. Then she goes back to Finn. Then she goes to Joe. Then she goes to Puck again. Then when she's at Yale, she dates her professor. Then after she breaks up with her professor, Quinn she doesn't, as much as she pretends that she has this independence, she doesn't know how to be alone.
I totally forgot she dated Joe.
I get that.
Yeah, she dated Joe. It was very forced. Oh, he's the least memorable character on the show. So don't worry about it. And she also like bounces between being on the Cheerios and being on the Glee Club and then joining the Skanks. Like, she desperately is trying to find a structure that will like give her some guidance. And even after all the religious trauma she goes through, she stays with her religion. She stays on the God Squad. She sticks with those like ideals and those teachings because like it's the only constant that has ever been in her life. And here are 2 big quotes from the Enneagram Institute that made me be like, this is Quinn. One, they say that 6s are filled with a nameless anxiety, and they try to find and create a reason that anxiety exists. And they want to feel like there is something solid and clear cut in their lives. And so they become attached for like explanations for their situation. And literally at the beginning of season 3, Quinn has been having this like crisis where she has no stability in her life, and she goes on a rampage where she actively tries to destroy Shelby's life to get Beth back. And she says to Puck, Beth is the one perfect thing in my life. If I can get her back, all the mistakes I made will be put away, essentially. Like, everything will be back on track. She keeps being like, if I quit the Cheerios and I just stick with the Glee Club, that's going to fix this fear I have. That doesn't work. So then in season 2, she's like, well, then I have to go back to the Cheerios. That doesn't work. So then she's like, oh, what's missing is my baby. Tries to get her baby back. That doesn't work. And one final thing, I promise I'll shut up after this. This quote, the reason that Quinn is like this is frankly because Ryan Murphy hated the character, and so he just threw her in the garbage. But this quote actually feeds into how poorly he treated the character. Until they can get in touch with their own inner guidance, 6s are like a ping pong ball that is constantly shuttling back and forth between whatever influence is hitting the hardest in any given moment. Because of this reactivity, no matter what we say about 6s, the opposite is often also true. And Quinn is consistently contradicting herself. She is like very religious, very into God, very into being popular, very into other people thinking well of her. And then immediately in season 3, she is like, no, actually, I am part of the Skanks. I am going to like be a rebel. I want people to think that I'm trash. I want to destroy the Glee Club. Like, she consistently tells Rachel that she's friends with her and she forgives her, and then immediately is mad at Rachel and bullies her. I just feel like she is ping-ponging, looking for some structure in her life. That's my case for Quinn being a 6. I took extensive notes.
Yeah, I've never taken a note in my life. Okay, I have a couple feelings. I had never heard that quote before about the ping pong, but I feel like that was the one thing that I was like, okay, now I'm starting to believe. Because I'm like, things are just happening to her, though. Like, she's just reacting as like anyone would react. So I didn't think it was indicative of her Enneagram type. I'm like, it's just like what's happening. So I don't know. I'm just not really convinced that she's just not really loyal to anything. And that's where I'm or any person. And that's like the number one characteristic of a 6. And so like, because she's ping pong. So now I'm even like questioning that quote, because I'm like, I thought the thing about the 6s were they were loyal.
I think what Ian is saying is that she's lost and she doesn't know where to put that loyalty. And that's why she attaches so quickly to so many different things. And then like, it's like, this isn't what I was looking for. And then I don't know.
I mean, I get it, but I'm like, you think by that, I don't know.
Lena, I want to hear what you have to say, because you had a whole different number to begin with. Like, where are you at with everything?
Yeah. I don't know. I liked what you said about her being a 3 and her, because what you said like kind of resonated with me personally, and I'm a 3. So I was like, oh, okay, I see that. And I see that in Quinn for sure. But I said that she was a 1 because I feel like Quinn operates in a very specific like set of rules for herself. Like, yeah, she definitely like breaks from those rules a lot. But I also feel like she just wants to be good. Like, she wants to be a good daughter, a good girl, a good cheerleader, a good student. She's like really headstrong. And in moments like, especially in Grilled Cheesus, like in the episode where Kurt's dad is going through like his health scare, and he's like, well, I don't really believe in God. And she's like, this isn't right for us to be talking about this. Like, this is not right. Like, she's operating in a really specific set of rules and what's right and what's the right thing to do. And she's like very confused about that. So I liked what Lucas said about her being a 3, because she's just like, she constantly doesn't know who she is. But I don't know.
I have an interesting thought. I also pulled up Enneagram Institute. So I was thinking about the 3 and the 6 and like arrows, and we talked about how they all connect. And so this is just about the arrows of the type 3. Obviously, I'm defending the 3, but I just want to hear what you have to say. Think about this. When moving in their direction of disintegration, driven 3s suddenly become disengaged and apathetic at 9, which, end quote for a second, I think could be what we see happening at the beginning of season 3 when she joins the Skanks. But then also, however, when moving in the direction of integration, vain, deceitful 3s become more cooperative and committed to others like healthy 6s. And I think that when Quinn is like at greater levels of health is when we see her kind of attach those bonds to the groups of Glee or the Cheerios or whatever. So to me, that makes sense. I could be convinced of some other numbers. I think 6 is a really interesting thought.
You guys,
Marjana, what do you think?
I am. It's not right. I just wanted to make the case for it.
You went on a rant, and I did not realize you didn't think. Oh well. I don't know. I think 8s and 3s look alike a lot of times. I think 8s and 1s look a lot alike a lot of the time. And I just am not really ready to let go of the 8. I just really think she's a different type of 8. And like as a different type of 4 in quotes. I like empathize with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just not, I haven't been like I think everyone makes good arguments, but like none of them have like really swayed me. I'm like, I just think that's what she is. And it's a gut thing. So I don't know how I can explain it any better.
That's the thing. This conversation is mostly just making me sad about Quinn as a character and how Glee as a show just did her so wrong. Because like we should know so much more about her than we do. And we all perceive her so differently. And I think the showrunners perceive her differently as well. Like, Quinn, justice for Quinn.
Yeah, she she was done dirty.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, poor Quinn.
I feel like this is the most lost we've ever been.
Well, it's just like truly there is near no consistency in this character's writing.
Yeah.
Like they just really Quinn, it feels like after season 1, every season Quinn's arc was, what are we going to do with this girl this time? They're like, Diana Agron's still on the payroll. We have to do something with her.
Seriously.
Makes me, they did her so dirty. Well, I think, should we just like pick a number out of the hat?
Sure.
Should we do a random
Let's
number
say
generator?
she's a 7. Just pick one none of us said.
Yeah, let's do a random number generator.
Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to do minimum 1.
This is chaos.
I'm so sorry, Quinn. I feel like this is...
But you know what? This is what the writers did.
Okay.
For real.
True. It's so
not our
real.
fault.
Minimum 1, maximum 9. I'm going to click generate. And as soon as we get to one of those 4 numbers...
I'm so nervous.
Like...
I think we just do a number no matter what.
Okay, let's click generate and see what
And we
happens.
have to, whatever it lands on, we have to make a case for it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm into
Wait,
that.
that
I'm into
sounds
that.
fun.
idea.
I knew this was going to be the number. It's a 2.
That's closest to my number. I
She
win.
had a baby.
Action. She's a mother.
Wow. She has a family. She's a mother.
You know what? 2s are very defined by their relationships with other people. And like a similar way, my argument for the 3, I think we should just keep going until we hit one of our numbers.
Okay, go ahead.
I feel bad for both the memory of Quinn and our 2 listeners to just like throw them a Quinn for no reason. Okay, here we go. Okay, we got 4. So 8.
Oh. She's an 8, I guess.
8.
You win.
Fate has stepped in.
Okay, and Marjana too, you said 8 wing 9?
I can see it.
So do I get like a trophy or a crown?
I think you get an Instagram post that says Quinn is an 8 instead of any of the other numbers we picked.
I'm so happy about that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, guys, I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you
This is
so
so
much
fun.
for being on this week. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us on our Glee
Thank
journey.
you for having us.
Where can people find your podcast? Because listen, y'all, you have to go check out Recovering Gleek. Where can they locate you on the internet?
Yeah, if you were listening to this and you thought, wow, I wish that Ian specifically, but Ian and Lena didn't shut up even more. If you want to hear more of our thoughts on Glee, we do have a podcast called Recovering Gleek, a Glee podcast. You can find it anywhere, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, like essentially anywhere you get podcasts, where we are rewatching Glee. We have an episode of the podcast for every episode of Glee. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Recovering Gleek _podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Recovering Gleek.
And Lucas and Marjana too, even special guest star on a podcast of ours. We do A Very Glee Christmas together. It's so fun.
So much fun.
Woo!
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us. It was a blast. We love you guys.
Love you.
Next week, I am so excited because we're going to be talking about Kurt, Mercedes, and off-brand Harry Potter, Blaine. I am so excited.
Thank you for listening to Typecasting. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at TypecastingPod, where you can vote in our weekly polls. Leave a review, and be sure to join us next week when we take on more pop culture by the numbers.
Sorry I said the thing about a crush earlier. Whoa.
Ian, regardless of Ian, he's used to it.
It was just supposed to be funny, and then I was like, that's so weird. He doesn't.
It's funny.
I just got because Kurt has a crush on Blaine, whatever. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Bye, team.